All right, we call the meeting to order. Score, will you let the record show that all are present and accounted for? I'll ask you to stand with us as we say the Pledge of Allegiance. And I will ask, who today? Mr. Tyler Hill, he will lead us in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. You may be seated. Ms. Gore, any citizens' comments? All right, thank you. So we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the September 24th, 2023 agenda.
Motion by Ms. Williams.
Second.
And a second by Dr. Viox. Any opposed? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Motion passes. I'll start with reports. I don't have a big report today other than to say welcome to Tammy Grissom and Ben Torres. Where are they? They are here somewhere. So they are from, oh, there they are. You don't have to come back in here. Just wanted to recognize that you guys are here. They are from our state board, and they are here for, we're having a board retreat following this. And so glad to have them here with us today for sure. And honestly, that's all that I wanted to mention tonight. So we'll move on to superintendent's report.
I'm shorter than usual, I promise.
Yeah. I thought you were about to say shorter than me, and I was going to be very impressed with that.
No. Sorry. I've got a couple of updates tonight, and then we'll move on to departmental updates. We've got a couple there. Anything of major relevance, I've tried to keep you all up to date on that along the way. So, I think the big thing that hit me today was we're only 7 weeks from completing our first semester of the school year, which is unbelievable. We're all of our sports and band and everybody's kicked off and, moving along through the school year. So it's exciting to see all those things going on alongside our instructional processes that are continuing. Our employees, I want to say, are continuing to do an amazing job with our students and really providing some great opportunities for our families and our students. And I'm grateful for that and our employees on a daily basis. And speaking of employees, I've shared with you all earlier this week that our district has once again been recognized as a top workplace. We don't know yet where we will rank for that. Hopefully we'll be finding that out before the banquet in December. The banquet is December the 14th, if you want to go ahead and put that date down. Just got that information yesterday. If you'll recall, for the past 2 years, we've been the #1 top workplace in the Memphis metro area. So I'm kind of hoping for the trifecta this year, but even if we don't get that, it's still an honor to have your employees vote you as a top workplace, and that's a reflection on everybody that has a leadership role in the district. That's a reflection on employee perception of our district. So I'm very proud of that, regardless of where it goes. But I still kind of want to win too. So anyway, we'll wait and see how all that pans out. Arlington Edge Academy begins tomorrow. If you'll recall, Arlington Edge is our new aspiring administrators academy. So we're excited about launching that tomorrow. We've got 14 aspiring administrators, employees within the district who are aspiring administrators who will be joining us tomorrow. And tomorrow will be more or less sort of an introduction, an overview. We have 6 modules planned. We'll be meeting 6 times throughout the school year. And tomorrow will be basically introducing everybody, making sure everybody knows each other. We've developed cohorts. Cohorts will consist of elementary, middle, and high people all having to work together in a cohort. And so that will be real interesting as we move through this. We're also going to talk about Admin 101, just some basic things. If you think you want to be an administrator, let me tell you a little bit about it. And so we'll be talking about that. Dr. Clark has conducted a couple of surveys with current supervisors, current principals, and current assistant principals to share what are attributes that they think they have to do their jobs effectively, and then what are things that you still need to work on. And so we've also administered, or will be administering that same survey to the aspiring administrators to see where everybody is right now, and then they'll get to compare where they land at the end of the program to see if that's changed or not based on what they've learned going through the academy. We have a book study that we're going to start tomorrow that will be part of their leadership training. And Dr. Clark's going to go over she'll have some scenarios where they will have to intertwine some of the attributes that they're going to be learning about in order to successfully complete those scenarios. We've got I feel like some really good things planned. We tried to condense it to what are the big bucket areas that you would need to know if you go into an assistant principal position and or a supervisor role, because some people don't necessarily have to be an assistant principal. They come straight to district office as a supervisor. And so we're trying to approach it from all angles so they'll get some exposure to both of those. So we're really excited about that. And Dr. Clark has worked really hard on helping get that together as well.
Mr. Mayor, before you move on
Sure.
from that book study, recall what the one is tomorrow that you'll give them?
It's the Way of the Shepherd.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
we've
Yeah.
shared that with you all
Yeah.
before. And I think you had read it before
Yeah.
that, and you're probably familiar with it too, yeah. They can read it tomorrow night when they get home if they want to, but it's very profound.
Yeah.
And it's just one of many leadership books that are out there. But I know when I read it, it really hit home for me, and it's simple, but it says a lot. It says a lot about leadership. And so we're going to be intertwining that throughout our modules, but also give them the opportunity to say, hey, this is not the only thing out there. There's excellent additional leadership books. We've got a couple more we'll be introducing to them throughout, but this is a good one to start with, and for them to start seeing how impactful they will be as a leader and how you have to stick to those things throughout the process rather than getting off track or not really knowing what your values are. You have to know what your values are first so you can stay with those or stand alone if you have to sometimes. And those are some of the areas that we'll be hitting with them tomorrow. So I'm excited about that. I think it's a great opportunity for our employees. Lead Arlington, I don't know if Mr. Goforth's going to talk about that any more tonight when he reports or if he has a report. But if not, it starts tomorrow. You all have gotten information on that. I was supposed to have sent you all that, and I forgot. And so he ended up sending it to you last minute. So it was last minute because of me. It wasn't because of him. And it just went over my head. Imagine that. So anyway, that starts tomorrow. So we will be looking forward to that. Mr. Ruff's going to give us an update on CIP projects and accomplishments that were made over fall break, because his team actually works over fall break to get a lot of work done when everybody's away and out of the buildings. This Saturday, we have Track or Treat. Mr. Hill may be going to talk about that a little bit more, but one of the things that's unique about this year, it's our second Track or Treat. It was a huge event last year for us. We didn't know what we were doing with it, but it turned out to be a really huge event. And so we feel like we have to do it again. We want to do it again, but we feel like we have to do it again too. One of the things that we'll be doing differently this year is we will be partnering with Arlington's Relay for Life, and they will also share the track with us this year. And it'll be sort of running simultaneously with Relay for Life and our Track or Treat. They were smart to realize we would be the biggest gig in town that night, so they actually reached out and asked to partner, so we made that work. And that's another way of, our family engagement activities that we started after COVID. We wanted to try to do some things to try to bring our families back to school. And so this is one of those things, and then an extension of that also out into the community, which is something we're always trying to incorporate. So again, something new added to that. I'm sure it will go really well. I hope you all can come. If you do, dress up, wear a costume, whatever you want to do. We will have several schools and central office dressed up and handing out candy. So it'll be a fun night. And that basically are my announcements. Does anybody have any questions for me before we go into departmental?
I just say I appreciate you're really starting to grow people from within. I know we've talked about that historically here, and I love this step to
Yeah.
moving in that direction. I think it's vital for
Yeah.
the future, so I
Yeah.
really appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, sure. So at this time, Dr. Clark, do you have a report? Do not. She's been too busy today working on all this other stuff.
You received my 10-year email. about
Yes, we did.
Yes.
this.
Yes, okay. Mr. Goforth?
I have no reports.
Okay. Ms. Douglas? Mr. Ruff has a report.
How are y'all this afternoon?
Good, sir.
Just wanted to give you a little recap of where we're at, what we got going. Main thing was over fall break. We had 5 ACs that have been on the books that we've tried to coordinate. That's on the sports wing. I still have 2 left to do, but we have to get some steel work done, trying to juggle that within school and trying to get everybody in an area where we can do it safely. We're working towards that, so hopefully I'll have those completed by Christmas. We painted the choir room and drama room over the fall break. Those 2 rooms in particular were full of furniture over the remodel process. So we came back in, put in new lights, new ceiling grid, fixed those up so they match the whole wing now. The auditorium, now we're finally done with the dirty work in the auditorium. We can go ahead and start moving forward with getting new drapes, new curtains, all the fun stuff, the pretty stuff to kind of finish it out. If you haven't got a chance to see it, it looks phenomenal. We're missing the lettering at the very top. That's the only thing we've got left. Actually, I think they're going to have it installed by the end of the week, per the conversation we had today. So we'll see how that pans out. Got sound baffles put up in the orchestra room, which is the current band room. It'll be the orchestra room afterwards. And all of the new lights through that entire section. They're probably going to be a maintenance nightmare, but anyway, they're really pretty and they function really nice right now. So. I think it's a nice little touch. We don't have to worry about you leaving lights on. They're kind of motion censored. Everything it's pretty state of the art, to be honest with you. We got the letters reinstalled at AES. I don't know if anybody even knew they were gone, but it was kind of a big deal once they got back up. I think everybody was kind of surprised. We had to take them down when we put up the canopy in the front, and when we did, we got them reinstalled. I think they were kind of excited about that. Also at AES, we got the cafeteria floor completely redone. The only thing we're lacking right now are the stair treads and new lights. And so we're waiting on those to come in, and I should be able to coordinate it on the weekend, so that shouldn't be any problems. We'll have that knocked out. We also had a few, I don't know if anybody noticed, we had a few purple lights running loose around a couple of campuses. Those were in warranty. I got those changed out, probably a little too early. I mean, it would have been nice for Halloween with the purple, but we decided to go ahead and get them taken care of. On the fine arts, the roof is complete. We're waiting on the top trim to go on. The brick is pretty much almost complete. I mean, we're waiting on the front windows and everything to come in. So once we get the definite date on that, which it's kind of moved, we were hoping it would come this way. It's actually going that way. They're going to start painting inside. We've got the ductwork up in the band room. AC units are coming on the 13th. So once they get in, delivered, we'll be able to go ahead and get gas connected, go ahead and get those ready to go. The lights, LED lights for all the sports complex, they ship on November 6th. I received that confirmation. So we anticipate on the 7th that we'll be 4 truckloads of stuff everywhere out there. So we got to try to coordinate, probably going to use some sports practice fields, that type of thing. And they're anticipating that it should take them less than 8 weeks to probably install everything. So trying to make sure I don't miss anything. So BDA antennas, that's some part of our CIP project. We went ahead and did the analysis over fall break. We weren't sure whether we were going to have them or not. We've been waiting on a new tower to come up, and it's up, but apparently it's not giving us enough signal. So we are going to have those bidirectional antennas for safety for the fire department. So Waiting to get the quote back on that. They're willing to do that over Thanksgiving break, so that shouldn't be a big deal. So most everything we're on track to get accomplished that we've got on the list right now. If we can, the only other thing I'm waiting on right now, and this is kind of a new thing, the backflows for the sprinklers, we got to bring them up out of the ground. It's a pretty healthy expense, but MLG&W has new leadership in that department, and they're pretty adamant that we're going to have to move forward with it one way or the other. So thank goodness we already made plans to put it into this year's budget. So as soon as I get figures back on that, we'll proceed. So anything else for me?
Man, you getting her done.
We're trying. We're trying.
You have enough.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ruff. Ms. Speakman? All right. Mr. Hill?
Good evening. I just wanted to provide you with a couple of updates that is strategic plan related that I think that you would be interested in hearing. The first one revolves around the Legacy Grant Program. You may remember this program was made to support the interest and involvement of students for clubs and organizations. So it is a student activity grant that we kicked off in Q1. And I just wanted to kind of run through some of the things that we've been able to approve so far in the quarter and the 2 weeks of the second quarter. But just a reminder about the Legacy Grant Program, it does have to support a student activity. So when the groups apply and they send in an application, that's what we're looking for, number one. What student activity is it supporting? So that could be competitions, registration fees to go to competitions, hands-on equipment and solutions. Whatever it is, how does it trickle back to being a hands-on activity for the students? So like I said, we do have that application process in place. They also have to detail how they'll use the funds, why the funds are needed, how they'll support that student activity, an itemized list of expenses, and if they have access to already existing funds, because we don't want them just sitting on a pile of cash and applying for a grant anyway. We want to know if you do have funds, what are they earmarked for? That way we can determine as a committee how much we're going to approve. So with that said, and just kind of the history of that, kind of want to run you through what we've approved so far. We've approved a little over $132,000 this year so far. That's about 27% of the budget you guys passed, which was a $500,000 legacy grant program. So about 27% of that's been approved. Just some things. The AES Juggling Club, they're coming back. They were huge many years ago, then they became kind of non-existent, but now they're coming back. And so they've got to reorder all of that equipment. It's a lot to kind of get it going. So they're coming back. AHS Student Council, they have an annual convention every year. It's very costly because they send the whole student council. So between registration fees, bus transportation, it's a lot. So we were able to offset a lot of that cost, actually almost 100% of that cost for the student council, where the students really didn't have to pay anything, which is huge. Model UN, they have a fall and spring conference. It's going to pay for them. What's particularly interesting about this one is that it has been so cost prohibitive in the past. They've only been able to send about 5 to 7 students. He's looking at sending 30 to 40 students this year, thanks to this fund and what we've been able to approve for them. Renovation of the track shot put area and new hurdles for the track team, new electronic keyboard for the Donaldson Choir Club, AES field trip to the Discovery Park of America, funds to support the AMS Military Kids Club, funds to support a new support group at Arlington Middle for kids who are experiencing grief and loss. They noticed that over the past couple of years that many of their students either lost a parent, sibling, loved one, and they were struggling with that. And so this kind of brings that support group together in the morning, helps them pay for refreshments, different kind of activities for them, but brings them together so they can kind of learn and cope with each other. AHS DECA Sports and Entertainment Marketing Conference, we're going to be able to send a big crew of them, over 40 students at the high school will be able to go down to that conference. Funds to support the ACS and AHS Student Council Homecoming Carnival, a way that we were able to engage with families. It was a huge success, and some of that money was able to go towards that event, which we think we had about 2,000 people come through, so it was pretty good. High school criminal justice tour of the Memphis Police Department and their 911 comms tour. The AHS medical therapeutics class, being able to buy a hands-on medical device program. AMS First Lego League Challenge competition fees and some Lego kits. And then the AHS Marching Band and Color Guard, they're going to the Bands of America Grand Nationals competition this year. It's a very large national competition in Indianapolis. This is the first time they've ever gone. They were able to do a pretty big fundraising effort, but they only got about half of their needed funds. So we are able to pick up the other half. And so that's why I kind of explained the application process is they did have that fundraiser, and that's part of that process. Well, how much did you raise? How much do you still need? And kind of work through that with them. So make sure that we're taking advantage of these funds to the best of our ability. So that's the things we've approved so far with the Legacy Grant Program, and we still have 80% or 70% left to go of that. And just one last note on that, it does tie directly back to the strategic plan that you guys passed now 2 years ago. Are we in, year 2 of that? So tied directly back into that. Another strategic plan initiative that I just want to briefly touch on is the expansion of the parent education programs. That was one of our strategies that we identified in the strategic plan process. One thing that we've done for several years now is a program called Pep Talks, Parent Education Program. A little bit about that program, it's led by our social and transition specialist team out of Student Services. Traditionally, they've always been in-person talks with different guests and experts. They come in and talk about a variety of issues, mental health issues. But over the years, we've noticed, despite advertising, it doesn't get a huge turnout. But a lot of times we are talking about very heavy subjects, mental health issues that our children are facing. A lot of these subjects have stigmas attached to them, and I think that sometimes hampers our ability to get people to come out because there is that stigma attached, and some parents don't want to come out and have people think, oh, my child is dealing with this mental health issue. So anyway, we kind of have been discussing, well, what can we do to kind of change the format a little bit. We've talked about blogs, we've talked about articles, but the social and transition team, with the approval of their director, Rochelle Douglas, and Mr. Mayo's approval, said, let's do a podcast. And so we have taken the Pep Talks program that is traditionally in person, and we now have the Pep Talks podcast that is released every week. In fact, our Pep Talks studio is in that closet right there. It's a small space, but it gets it done. So far we've had 5 episodes. One just dropped today, just for you to have an idea of what topics we're tackling. We've done understanding depression, 6 phrases to connect with your child or teen, navigating grief with a child life specialist, using coping skills for those big feeling moments. The social media brain drain part 1 that dropped today, and that one was really cool. We interviewed a panel of high school students about what social media platforms they're using, why they're using it, what they're getting out of it, how it affects them mentally, socially, and just really kind of diving into their experience with social media. We're following that up with a part 2 where we talked to Jason Winkler here at district office to come at it from the adult perspective. How can we as parents help our children navigate the world of social media? Because we adults need help with that sometimes too. We have recorded Let's Get Physical, using exercise to combat mental health issues. And just today we recorded one about On the Move with ADHD, where we brought in an expert guest. So these drop weekly. We do take some weeks off, like fall break and Thanksgiving, but the idea is to just release these in an environment that is safe for the parent or the student listening, where they don't have that attached stigma, and if they just want to listen in their bedroom, they can. But it's a really good resource, and again, ties back to our strategic plan about expanding those parent education programs. And then the last thing Mr. Mayo hit on was Track or Treat. Hope you're there. It's going to be a lot of fun. We have 37 organizations signed up to host booths this year, which is about 7 more than last year. So just hoping for great weather, good turnout, and hope to see you there. Any
I
questions?
do have a couple of things.
Okay.
Will you send us all that information on Legacy Grant, just so we can see where that money's going? I think it's fantastic. I'd just love to do a little bit further look into it as well.
Yep.
Will you send us those? And then where do we go find these pep talks that have already happened, and where do we find those?
Pep Talks, anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Okay.
Apple, Spotify, there is a a website that also has them all. I'll send it directly to you,
Yeah.
but it's on our website. It's on our social media channels. But anywhere you listen to podcasts, once you subscribe, they'll pull up in your library every
That'd
week.
be great.
So Apple,
that'd be really
Spotify,
good.
anywhere else.
If you click on my email signature, it'll take you right there.
Oh, yes, sir. Talking about.
And while I'm thinking about it, because I was running through my list, I do just want to give a shout out to Janier Johnson and Aaron Williams. They're our social and transition specialists. They do not come from the broadcasting world. They were very nervous to jump into this venture, but they tackled it really well. And they're coming up with the topics. They write a lot of the script and the copy that we use. And so I'm just back there editing and helping them out along the way. But they're doing a really good job with that. So kudos to them.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. I've also asked Ms. Davidson to come and share with you what she's been doing since she started her position with the district. I am, as I shared with you in an email, making some shifts in light of new information we have about testing and statuses of schools and all of that. And that's what we do in education. We monitor and we adjust, we make adjustments as needed, because I feel like her work can be more beneficial in a particular area of need for our district right now than what I had set out to tackle when bringing this position on. But I've asked her to share some updates about what she's been doing, so you all will have an idea of what's going on in that position.
Good afternoon. As Mr. Mayo said, he asked me to just give a brief overview of what I've been doing. The first thing that I had to do, it's not clicking. What?
The clicker's not clicking.
Okay. Yeah, just right here. Okay. Have to be re-educated. The first thing that I had to do was just to get to know the principals. I'd worked with Mrs. Banks and Mrs. Hawkins before in Arlington and Shelby County, so I knew them pretty well. But I did not know Mr. Abraham or Mrs. Manley. So that was my first task, was just to come in and sit down with them. And I would say that was even a success, because immediately after that, I started getting phone calls. I'm dealing with this problem today. What would you suggest? And I think the benefit to this position is when I was the first year principal, I worked in Shelby County Schools, and we had 52 principals. So after we had principals meeting, we would go out to lunch, different groups of us. I know Miss Williams was part of that. And we would talk about, oh, I'm having this problem. How are you handling it? Or this person would say, well, I'm dealing with it this way. And another person would say, I'm dealing with it this way. Well, all of our principals have 3 or less years experience, so they had no one to call. So, like I said, immediately I started getting phone calls, which was great. I wouldn't tell them what to do. I would just say, let's talk through it. Now, what do you think? And 9 times out of 10, they were right on, but it might be one little tweak. I could say, well, have you thought about this? And they're like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, that's good. And so we started there. Data. I'm a data person, and I have spent so much time on data. From the very beginning, when we first got any test score in, I started looking at it, like everybody in the district. And I found out our challenges were 4th grade, all of AMS, 9th grade, mostly at the high school, but some 10th grade courses also. So I also asked Mr. Mayo if I could also take the principals on a retreat. And he asked me to write up a proposal of what I wanted to do with them, and so I did. And the first thing I asked him was, can we use the company car? I mean, you know, being a new employee, and first thing I'm asking for the car. But he said, yeah, go ahead. But that was great, because it let us be together the entire day from the time we left this campus until we got back. And during that time, my first question to them was, okay, everybody, let's share what was the most funny or unusual thing you've dealt with as a principal. Well, you can imagine we had a lot of good laughs over that. So that kind of, let everybody's inhibitions kind of, it's okay, I can talk in this group. And so then we went to the Benjamin J. Hooks Library. Any nonprofit can use the rooms there for meetings. And we could have met here, but I wanted to get them out of this area and just let them have a day away from school. And so while we were there, we played a game. And first I had all of the principals send me 3 things that they thought other people may not know about them. For example, one of them put, my first job was a kindergarten teacher. Now, who do you think that was? Any guesses? Mr. Abraham. No one got that right. So be sure when you see him, tell him, we know you can teach kindergarten. You might be a principal, we know you can teach kindergarten. Okay, next I had scenarios prepared that they might encounter as a principal, because like I said, I'd been working with them on their own problems, but we would have, one of the principals would draw one, they would read it, and then we would discuss it. First, we would have them answer it, and then if any of the other principals had something they wanted to add to it, they would, or I would, and so that was very beneficial as well. And you can see some pictures here, and I promise Ms. Hawkins was there as well, but she was sitting to my left, and I didn't want to turn around and take just an individual picture of her. So here we are in the Benjamin Hooks Library doing our scenarios. Then we had a delicious meal at Seasons 52, and that was district provided, which was such a treat for the principals. They thought that was fantastic. Many of them had never been there before. And we ran into 2 former students, one of Miss Banks and one of Mr. Abraham's. And they were both servers, and Mr. Abraham's just happened to be our server, and he even gave us free dessert. So we really had a good time. But the most fun was axe throwing. I had never done that before. I told them we were going to do it. I think some of them went and practiced without telling me because they had the hang of it pretty quickly. Here's a couple pictures. There's Miss Banks and Mrs. Hawkins throwing. Miss Banks, she got it right away. I mean, she had no problem hitting the board every time. And then Miss Hawkins, and there's Miss Manley and Mr. Abraham. Now, I thought, Mr. Abraham told me he'd done it before. I thought he would kill us in it, but he really didn't. It took him a little while to get his stride. But he did get a bullseye that no one else did, so that was something to see. And then they had those 2 dots at the top they called kill shots. And you see Mrs. Manley got one of those. And Mrs. Hawkins got one of those. So they were really proud of that. And they got to sign a board saying that they got a kill shot, and both of them signed it with, ACS, Go Tigers, or whatever their school mascot is. And there's the picture of all of us. You see, I didn't show you any pictures of my bullseye because I didn't have one, or even a kill shot. So now, as you know, I've been kind of rededicated to AMS, which I was already working on that anyway. And I worked with Mr. Goforth and Miss Douglas and Mrs. Evans, and we worked on a success plan for Arlington Middle. And once we came up with our ideas, I went over and I presented it to Mrs. Banks, and she had, a few more ideas that were great ideas, and so we incorporated those as well. So we decided that a team of 7 administrators will be going in observing at Arlington Middle, and we're looking for the rigor and seeing if they are following standards, just to make sure that they are working to the level that we know our students can work. And then the ELA and the math teachers will visit a level 5 teacher to see what they're doing differently. And more focus is being placed on the standards. They're having to put the standard in their lesson plan and in their grade book when they grade something, so that it keeps the teacher totally aware of, I have to be working on standards. And then more focus is being placed on our subgroups so that they know which children, for example, are free and reduced lunch, or students with disabilities. Our biggest area over there is students with disabilities, so that's what we're honing in on the most. And I really appreciate both accountability and instruction allowing their teams to go over there and assist going in the classroom, since I'm not here all the time to do it. But, you know, change is hard. It always is for all of us. So we're, as a team, all of Arlington Community Schools administration is working to help the teachers at Arlington Middle, and they've been very receptive of that. They appreciate the help. They know they've got to make some changes. They're very hard workers. I can't say that enough. I, actually taught over there with them. I know what goes on every day. They are very hard workers. But what they're finding and what we're finding, looking at their data, is that they're not working on necessarily the correct things. So we're working to correct that, because they want to make a level 5, just like the rest of our schools. They've all told me that. I want to be a level 5. And so we're encouraging them to listen to what we're doing, and I really think we will see a huge change next year. So, any questions about anything?
I did have a question.
Yes.
You said some AMS teachers will visit, level 5 teachers, was that ELA or math?
Both.
Both, okay. And where will they visit those? In the school, or will you go outside the
Sixth
school?
grade is going to a 5th grade class, because we felt like that was more closely aligned with the standards they're teaching. And the 7th and 8th are going to go to the high school to visit.
Okay, good.
And then I also have a teacher from AMS who's outstanding. I've asked her to also do a lesson for the PLC groups too. So, I mean, we're saturating them with good teaching and, providing assistance, and they know they can call me too if they need something.
That's good.
So, anything else? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Davidson. That concludes my report.
All right, thank you. Financial reports, I think we got our information on financial reports. Appreciate you put that together, Ms. Sapsley. Thank you for doing that for us. TLN report, Mr. Dunn.
So there's no report this month, but being new to this role, I want to say thank you to Ms. Speakman as well as Ms. Williams. Over the past week, both of them have helped me a lot, but we're focused on the TSBA conference this next month, the delegate assembly that we'll be gathering for that. So on the other side of that, we'll have a whole lot more to discuss, although Mr. Mayo did inform me of a few items that we will begin to look into as well. So I'll have more in the months to come.
Okay, awesome. Any questions for Mr. Dunn? All right, thank you. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Dr. Biox, second by Ms. Williams. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? There is none. The ayes have it. The motion passes. We'll move on to business recommendation items. Mr. Mayo.
Okay, thank you. So the first item up for business action item is the easement agreement with Faith Baptist Arlington. And I had shared with you in the past when we first started having these conversations with Faith, and it's really a benefit for both our district and their church, especially those that work at Donaldson. Basically, this easement agreement is a little cut through from their property to our property that adjoins our parking lot on the back, which is the employee parking lot. car rider line, all of that, that basically gives our employees the opportunity to park at Faith on curriculum nights, STEM night, which they're having tonight, any of those kinds of events. But in the future, instead of our employees having to walk all the way around, they will be able to walk from their parking lot down a path that's going to be cut through down that bank, and then into their parking lot and into the back door. Same will happen on Sundays or Wednesday nights, or Sundays and Wednesday nights for Faith Arlington. They will be able to park on our lot and then be able to walk through the cut-through and assess the church rather than having to walk all the way around to get to the front entrance of the church. So they are assuming all costs for that, and Ms. Speakman has been working back and forth with their civil engineer that they have on board, as well as staff at the church. So that's just a little reminder and overview of what this is about. So with that, it is my recommendation that you all approve the easement agreement between Faith Baptist Arlington and Arlington Community Schools Board of Education.
All right, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Do you hear a motion to approve?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve this.
Motion by Ms. Conley, second by Dr. Viox. Any discussion? We've talked through this. I think this is a really good thing. Happy that this is happening for both us and the church, I think. So no more discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion passes. Thank you guys for being here. Really appreciate your coming and working with us through all this. Brian Carlisle, Dave Smith, and this is your brother, right? Yeah, Sean. So it's good to have you guys with us. So thanks for being here and working through the process to get this done. Superintendent.
I think the next item's yours.
Oh, is it mine?
It's about me.
Oh, that's right. So the motion is, there's a motion on the table, or there's not a motion on the table, but we are going to talk about the approval of superintendent's performance evaluation instrument, I think, which you have all had an opportunity to look at and review and take a look at. And so if I haven't seen any feedback to the negative or questions about anything that we've had, and so I think it's pretty thorough and covers all the things that give us an opportunity to speak into lots of different areas with him and his job, the things we ask him to do and the things he's tasked with for the district. And so in the superintendent's performance evaluation, I'll ask if there's a motion to approve the instrument for his evaluation.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Dunn, second by Dr. Viox. Any discussion?
You guys are both happy? You're happy? He's happy?
Yeah. I
Looks
reviewed
great,
it,
man.
and so yeah, I thought it was very thorough.
We'll see. See how happy I am.
We're happy while it's blank, right? Yeah. All right. Any more discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? There's none. The ayes have it, the motion passes. All right, I think that wraps it up for us. We are adjourned.